Hello and welcome to Voices of Parenting podcast. I am so glad you're here. My name is Mussi. I am an advanced nurtured heart approach trainer. I am a parenting coach. I am also an inner wealth coach, which means that I help people rediscover and connect to the people that they truly were all along, but may have gotten forgotten along the way. So to find out more about me and what I offer, you can check out mussidiskin.com. I would love to connect and I would love to hear your feedback. Reach out to energizinghearts@gmail.com. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We have Howard Glasser again here. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to make an announcement, guys. If anybody wants to sponsor this podcast, reach out, because that will help the sustainability of it continuing. And I love the conversation, so I want it to continue selfishly. So, Howard, what is on your heart in this moment that you'd like to share with the general public?
I'm very excited that the work of Nurtured Heart Approach keeps growing without having to go out and sell it in a salesy kind of way. In just this last week, I've been a part of meetings with some folks in Oregon, and there's excitement about how it's moving along in the kids' mental health system, and it's moving along or taking root now, or springing forth in education. So to me, that's precious. And we just got word from a group of people who were at our last certification training in Ohio that they're moving forward with the kids' mental health system. So it makes me so grateful, and I love being surprised. So these things just tickle me to no end, and I can't help but think it comes out of the work we've done with the state of New Jersey over the last 10 years. So this is for me.
Tell us about the state of New Jersey.
I can. So 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was an awareness that Nurtured Heart had made a difference. There were a few people who studied with me prior to that who worked in significant roles. Frank Piccone worked in a agency he and the other person, Don Kowalczyk, worked in an agency for foster care and I think adoptive care too. And they took up Nurtured Heart in stronger and stronger ways over a pretty quick springing into reality. And they made it, they mandated that, this agency was gonna, both teach it to parents. They were going to use it as a form of treatment with parents in support of parents who adopted. And they went from the normal national average of 20 to 25% broken placements quickly to less than 2% broken placements, which is huge. Because as you can imagine, there are people out there, working hard to inspire people to consider adoption, to consider foster care. There's a great need. And it's horrible when somebody winds up going, I can't do this. It's too hard. Because all of these kids are going to give you a run for the money. They've all had either loss or neglect or abuse, whatever kind of abuse. Some adults have dropped the ball. So these kids have to test you to see if you're going to drop the ball. And if all a parent, a prospective foster parent or adoptive parent has as normal, conventional, traditional approaches, they're doomed with these kids. I mean, even if they make it, it's going to be a challenging bunch of years to get kids to the finish line. And it doesn't ensure that those kids are going to get to the finish line in good shape. Somebody who played a big directing role in Los Angeles told me a third of the kids in foster adopt, generally speaking, in the system, a third wind up imprisoned, a third wind up homeless, and a third wind up basically marginal. And I am now that those people were studied by leaders in New Jersey in the system of care. They happen to be one of the states with a statewide system. And those people decided, I mean, they were at a moment where the existing system, where treatment professionals used normal, conventional, ordinary approaches, and they were having a hard time with the cost of everything because of lawsuits, even loss of life. You know, kids in a group home or a residential treatment center would get into a situation, and you'd have people trained to do takedowns, and you'd have workman's compensation costs, and you'd have kids who got hurt and litigious, court suits, and it was a mess. And so I was part of some of the final signing on to, they wanted, really, when I heard them, they wanted to produce kids who came out of the system well, successful. And they wanted kids who came out with their inner restraint instead of having to be restrained. And so this was all coordinated by a big grant that Rutgers got. And they've trained 1,000 people now. And because it went so well in their programs, treatment centers, schools got word and they got their own grant. And so the dream, it's literally called the Dreams Grant, and the dream is to have people who are certified to teach this in every school district and kind of germinating this in the professional educator community and the parent community. And so the results have been stunning. There's been one evaluation that showed a reduction of psychotropic medications by 40%. One of the most costly things in a system is the cost of how many days a kid is in an out-of-home placement. And there's been a reduction of an average of 92 days less per kid, which has allowed them to invest money in other community parts of the system. So some of those original architects who kind of commandeered, you could be a part of this and receive our funding, but the hitch is you got to use nurtured heart approach, which I love, and you could do your own thing, but you won't get our funding. So to me, that's music to my ears. And some of those architects are out, like Dr. Liz Manley is at the University of Connecticut Center for Innovation. And part of her job is people come to her and wondering, how did New Jersey become so successful? And it's called Promising Paths to Success that they've done now for 10 years. And so the people in Ohio studied with Liz. The people in Oregon studied with Liz. So she's just been amazing, and these successes have just come kind of as a result. So that's what I've been thinking about lately, and I'm so grateful to how the universe works. And there's going to be a second evaluation coming up here. We're waiting on it, and so are they. And hopefully the results will be, able to track some of the kids who've actually graduated post-18 from the system. Wouldn't it be great if it was, a lesser percentage of incarceration, a lesser percentage of homeless, and a much greater path to success beyond, treading water, beyond, marginal.
Yeah, I think so.
What are your thoughts?
So many parents relate to what you're talking about is on this grand scale of like a statewide system, but in our own systems and want what you're describing in their own, just copy, paste, change the wording a little bit. And I think that it's a promise that we're hearing, and it's exciting. And I'm personally excited. I'm professionally excited. I'm actually not professionally excited. I really don't see myself as a professional. What you were started with this idea of you're excited that Nurtured Heart is spreading without the traditional marketing schemes.
Yeah.
We try not to scheme. We try to be honest and just present in it. And I mean, all of my success has been just the scheme of the universe, not my scheme. And it's the kind of thing that it shows, like show, don't tell. It just like shows itself. It just, the light leads the light, and people see what it is and want it. And the work the best work that I can do is to do the work. myself.
We're all trying, I love what you're saying to equate it, the parallel to what we're all trying to do on not the macro, but the micro level of creating promising paths to success in our household, in our classroom, just our reach. And I'm so glad Nurtured Heart has become a path for that. The work, maybe I should say, this work in particular came out of my clinical work with difficult kids, and most approaches to parenting and teaching interaction. We're interacting anyway. We can't help interacting. Even when we think we're not interacting, we're interacting. And most written forms of interaction, or most forms of interaction that are passed along in community, in kind of family tradition, the kind that we imbibe growing up, they're predicated on easy kids or normal kids who, we could give a reprimand to or a little lecture, come on, Billy, get your act together, do the right thing. I don't want you to talk to your mother that way anymore, and out of fear, how many times have you heard, from the families you work with? How many times have I heard, the old style communication worked, seemingly worked but the people who came to me clinically were not because of the easy kids. They were kids with more intensity, more life force, and everybody thought, intensity was the enemy, and half the people were just so fearful that their intense kids needed a medication to douse out the fire of that intensity or lessen it or moderate it. Whereas as I got to know these families and find my way to this nurtured heart approach thing, I realized that contrary to the current beliefs that intensity is, something to quell, intensity is something to meet and must.
You know that Yiddish word,
Cavell.
Howie?
Yes, I know
You
the
gotta
word cavell.
cavell.
I grew up around the word cavell. Instead of quell, we cavell in the
Yeah.
energy and intensity, and we could channel that intensity into a child's greatness and help them feel a sense of thriving, of cavelling.
Look at that. Look what we just did. We're at closing, Howie. Tell people what I will say.
You tell them.
Go to nurturedheartinstitute.com. You will find loads of options. The current exciting thing for me is these little retreats that Howard's doing sporadically throughout the year with Josh, because they are live. And so you can hop online, or it sounds like there might be one in person coming up, where you can do this amazing work together.
You could even go to the library and find a Nurtured Art book.
That too.
And you could find out more. And you could please come join us at a retreat. The retreats, I should say, are not about the kids per se. It's about applying the same concepts and approach to ourselves, so we could grow our inner wealth, and we cavell.
We'll cavell ourselves. All right. Well, I'm going to go cavell, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here, Howie.
It's such a pleasure, Mussi Diskin. I cavell about being in your midst. You are just so great to be around. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Hey, wait, don't go yet. Take a minute to find the beautiful quality that you have, that you appreciate about yourself.